Sean here, making a deck profile for Team Solemn Circus. This is my Runick Chimera deck here. I was doing really well with it for a few weeks after the end of the regional season. I thought the deck seemed really cool, but I didn't want to mix things up too much. I was still trying to get some invites and mats. I ended up making this profile today. I was going to make one a few weeks ago, but I got lazy and I was playing Shadowverse, so Pat couldn't record it. But comments from Hosk and Cameron, Mr. Virgil, and I think it's Sarai Hale were asking for it, so I figured I'd sit down and make one. Starting off here with 3 Sword Knight. This is the go-to starter for the deck. Adds negate in graveyards, loses hard dash blossom, but that's okay. 2 Cornfield Codal. Triggering Droll in this deck is not great. The target negate's pretty nice as far as protecting Fountain, being good in general, but triggering Droll first thing in your deck is not great. 3 Beasts. Anybody who plays Chimera is going to tell you that you run a Beast really quick. It's your Searcher. It's also a starter. You can go into this off of Sword Knight instead of the Beast. Big Wing Baphomet if you want to go into SP later in, because this locks you in Fusion after you use it. Overall, good card. And Baphomet, I've seen people playing 2 in regular. I'm not a big fan of it. Sorry, 3 in regular. I'm not a big fan of it. This is a deck where you could play 3 in it. I only have 8 starters, but I draw into a lot of cards as far as Runick goes, and because you have Runick special summons, you can immediately normal summon this and start your combo instead if you draw just this, which makes it much more valuable in this build here. And 3 Chimera Fusion. There's no reason not to play 3. Drawing into Runick spells is okay, but because of Runick being able to special summon a beast in both Geary and Sleipnir, you always have it live because you have the requirement for a beast. And Sleipnir gives an extra body as well when it summons its token. Because of the new fusion monster, any of these guys with your Runick monsters, you can immediately go into the new fusion. When you're setting up disruptions or trying to break through an opponent's board, because of Runick monsters, Fountain, and all these guys triggering, you can pretty much chain block anything you want to go through, as long as you can get the actual fusion off. So depending on how well your opponent knows your deck, you can just slap this down, and if they negate it, sometimes it just screws you over, but sometimes they'll let it slide because it doesn't seem that big, and you can go like Chainlink 3, Chainlink 4, and just start going off the board. That's for the Chimera engine. I'm going 2 Fountain, 3 of all the important ones. I'm only choosing to do 2 extra. I was playing 2 Dispelling, Smiting, and Droplet in my Invoke deck, and I did really like having the increased number of Runick spells. It felt really good as far as drawing it, draw power, keeping Fountain live, and depending on the deck, like if it's a graveyard-centric deck, a mill-centric deck, you could just, if you have the right hand for it, just start eating away your opponent's deck turn 1. But there's a lot of stuff that I want to fit in this deck, and like the 17 plus the 2 Fountains seems to be working pretty well. 3 Ash Blossom. In a previous build, this was Fenrir. I still think Fenrir is pretty good, but especially at our locals, there's a lot of Labyrinth, there's a lot of Runick. Hitting Fire King on him with this is pretty sick. So I figured I'd just go for Ash Blossom. Making your opponent's board worse when you're attempting to break it instead of using Fenrir to break a stronger board is generally the option you want to go for, and you can draw into this pretty easily during your opponent's turn because you have Fountain and you have the Guardian Chimera to help draw it. 3 Super Poly. There's a lot. This deck has a lot more utility as far as extra deck monsters goes, and you have a lot of different monsters that you can use to make this live, so it's pretty great. You can also do, if you summon a Hugin first and Sword Knight doesn't get Ash, you can always go Baphomet plus Hugin to make Draco's Tapalia, and that's going to dodge any target negates on him, which is just really, really good. 3 Triple Tactics Talents. You could play it lower, you could just play something else in the deck instead, but with specifically the Chimera engine and the Runick cards, everything is more or less live all the time. Ripping a second card out of hand is really good, but if you don't have enough gas to play and make a second card, you can just draw, and you have your entire Chimera engine to go into. It's going to be fusion materials, starters, all the Runick cards are just always live all the time. Drawing 2 Ash sucks, but pretty much all of your non-engine cards are also really good all the time. And you can do fun stuff like take overlay for Typhon. SP is alive much more often in this build than the branded builds, which is really good because SP is just a crazy card in general. As far as the side deck, it's going 3 evenly match, 3 draw. I haven't really touched the side deck since the ban list, or haven't modified it for upcoming formats yet, but it's pretty safe in general. These are just really safe blowout cards. If you don't really want to go into the nitty gritty and find out what you need for which decks, these pretty much hit everything. I think these were Lightning Storms the last couple weeks I was playing it, but Pancratop is just really great. It helps deal with anti-spell better, and it's in the body for fusions. 2600 beater. It's just a really good card in general. And then 2 Dark Roller. I don't know if I keep these in, but you don't use your battle phase a lot anyway, and it's a good way to turn off the board. And then this could be Munion as well. It's just a time card. It sucks having to play time cards, but between this and Munion, like you have really good options going into time. So it sucks you have to play them, but there's no reason not to. And then for extra deck, extra deck is pretty tight in this deck, but there's definitely decks that are tighter, like brandeds. Once you start to get into branded fusion monsters, it eats up a lot of space. Trying to fit all the invoke cards I wanted to in with the Runick cards also took up a lot of space. So this is, it's definitely one of the more wide open as far as extra deck choices. So you just have Chimera, 1/1. You don't really need any more than this, especially with this card. Summon this, get your hand rip. You have the choice to make, you have a chance to make this. Makes your fusion live and grave again. Makes your other guys live. Once you use this to summon, you do your summon. You get to protect, advantage, search. You can go fusion 1, this 2 if you want to summon out a guy and get a fusion off immediately. It's not super relevant, but it is what it is. And then you can just banish this, put this back, and fusion's live again. So you don't really need more than 2. 2 Guardian Chimera. I've seen people saying you only need 1. You need 2. Especially with the Runick cards. That's the really nice part about this deck. When you go through your Chimera engine, it just thins your deck like way out. So, you know, you go like Kodal, Sword Knight. That's 1 card out. Sword Knight goes into Burfmit. Burfmit's 2 cards out. Burfmit searches for 2 more cards. It's 4 cards out. All of a sudden we have 4 cards out. Rip the card from our opponent's hand. And then usually on your opponent's turn, you immediately go Sword Knight, search 2 more. So it's like 6 cards thinned out your deck. This is potentially a draw 2 on your opponent's turn as well. So if you're looking for more Runick cards, that goes into that. And then with Found, it's potentially like a draw 5 on your opponent's turn. So it's just really, really good to keep your Runick engine going. Drawing a lot more cards in this than most decks, just with the Chimera engine built in. So it's good to take advantage of it. 2 Hugin, I mean, you have to play 2 Hugin. You always want Fountain live, so like you just really can't afford to get it negated. I really like Geary. Geary has a lot of potential. You can use him in the battle phase to clear. He's a beast monster, which is great for Chimera Fusion. He's a level 4 monster, which is great for Xyz. He's dark. He gets the Fields Spell back from the grave. He's pretty well good enough to play 2 of, but you know, I'm still bouncing around ratios. I wanted to put Sleipnir in the deck today. He's pretty fun. He doesn't always come up, but an extra way to clear just any single Chimera Runick spell is really nice. He is 25th Century, which is an extra bonus for me when I put him in here. And And then, yeah, he's Beast as well. He summons a token, which is great for making Fusion to Guardian Chimera live. So there's a lot of good benefits to playing him. You gotta play your super poly targets. Nothing else to say here. Always think about making Mud Dragon if your opponent's deck has lots of targeting effects. It's a great way to steal some games and make your opponent's lives harder, which we love doing. This is more of our Tech Fusion monsters. Magna Reliever, I've had days where I haven't really felt making him at all. I've had days where he's clutch at least once a match. Definitely in Runick you go into him a lot more. The draw effect's really relevant, the pop's really nice. Something randomly nice as well is I was talking about Chimera Fusion being live a lot more in this build, is if you just open Gazelle and like some Runick spells, you just go regular combo, you know, Hugin Search, and then right away, Gazelle and Hugin make Magnum. So you get to go for your search for Cornfield or Swordnate before your normal summon. You have a draw live, you have a pop live, and everything's going pretty well. And then Dragos Depelia, it's just a great card in general. Making things level 1 is really relevant a surprising amount of the time. Having just like a regular target negate that doesn't have to wait for anything to trigger is really important because this deck doesn't have it, and it's not really an issue right now, especially with the ban list, but beforehand with stuff like there can be only one, just being able to make a plant monster is pretty cool. And this was Digus Ephemeral. I think I saw it was a German player had one in there a few months back, and I thought it was neat. It came up a couple times, being able to like put your Chimera engine back in once you start to run out, putting fusion monsters back in, getting the draw. I just had this sleeved up because I was playing it in the Evoke deck. You can kind of ignore that. There's a lot of options. People are going for Baguska, Daigusto, Abyss Dweller. Pretty much just make Geary, Sword Knight, Gazelle, whatever, and just make him. These two are really great in this deck. I played both of these in my Branded Chimera. It stinks because all the Branded cards lock you out of it right away. You can't do it for the turn. This is only burst from it after he uses effect, if his effect resolves. And yeah, this is a crazy card. Gives you a lot more options. Removes anything you want. You can fix your opponent's graveyard. It's taking problem cards out of the way. And then Typhon's always been really, really good in Chimera decks. Because, as I mentioned earlier, the Runick monsters are beasts, so they enable this to be live. Typhon's a fiend, which means he enables this to be live as well. And it's a lot harder to get out the fiend as a requirement for the regular Chimera. So if you just have a Gazelle live on hand or something like that, and an Ash Blossom, you know, I guess in theory you could just summon Ash Blossom, go into this, try to do some damage, and then on your opponent's turn you'd be able to go like Chimera Fusion, make your regular Chimera search. You know, it's mostly just for the clear, but there's some other stuff with it being fiend, which is kind of nice. And that's it. I guess like and subscribe. Pat's trying to reach 5,000 subscribers, so you could help him with that. That'd be great. And yeah, have fun with it. Thanks.